I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing.
Oh, God, I did it again. This is like the second time that I frickin' cut off Bill. My fault. God, I'm not good this week for whatever reason. Hey, it's the Daily Puck Drop. Welcome in, kiddos. It's another edition. It's Tuesday, February 3rd. Your daily sports podcast where we wow you with just entertaining sports takes and not. But we try to. And we're going to try and do it today. It's a Tuesday. John Canzano will be here momentarily. We'll talk to Danny Kelly from The Ringer. He's probably in a fetal position thinking about the game because that's how he likes to watch and take in the games. Our good friend from years ago on the radio, no longer in the media business. Now he's selling real estate, living his best life in Vegas. Joe Fann. I tried to do the rolling of the ends. I couldn't do it. Joe Fann is here today as well. Been wanting to catch up with Joe for quite some time. We'll be able to do it. And we'll touch in here on Brendan Donovan and that trade. There's a new Inside Pitch with Ryan Divish that is out. As always, we come via the Limbeck Lumber Studios. We could not do the show every single day without the fine support of all of our sponsors, but it starts there with Limbeck Lumber. Contractors, do-it-yourselfers, they're going to treat you one in the same. They've been doing business since 1930, so give them a call, 206-782-3487. Check out all their work as well online at limbeck lumber.com. You can follow me on all the social media platforms, Puck Sports, everywhere, and go to pucksports.com. There you can see all of our audio, video, everything's up there. Contest, eventually merchandise. We'll get it up there when I can figure everything out. And also, that's the one-stop shop there to sign up to become a Pucks Posse member. There's a link at the very top, just $5 a month. You support everything we do here daily. Plus, we give you bonus shows every single week. You'll have, again, Inside Pitches out a day early with Ryan Divish from the Seattle Times talking about the Donovan trade. You'll get another Tuesdays with Stretchy coming out later, the Sports Pit, and then, of course, Thursdays, KJ Arntz with Mitch Levy. All right, before we get into Canzano, the sale of the Seahawks, quickly let's touch in on the Brendan Donovan trade. We talked about this for a very long time. Divish and I, when we visit every single week, this has been going on for months, that Seattle and the Cardinals were linked to Brendan Donovan, going back and forth of what the trade package was going to be. It eventually becomes a three-way deal with Ben Williamson, me being the president of the Ben Williamson fan club, because you know how much I love third base play, especially defensively. So it's sad to see Ben Williamson go, but this trade makes perfect sense. It's a great move for Seattle. You get a very reliable bat. You get a leadoff hitter. You get a guy that's pretty good defensively, can play multiple positions, and they need that. And they really need a leadoff hitter. They need a guy that can get on base. They don't have that. Did you have to give up? Some would say too much. Durangelo, the switch pitcher, who's really not the switch pitcher anymore because all he's going to do is throw from the right side. And then Ty Pete, the guy that's been struggling in the minors. So I look at the package. I think it's a great deal for Seattle. But Divish and I talked about that at great length on the latest edition of Inside Pitch. And I get it. He's a fan favorite. You know, he had one of the most dramatic, impactful postseason swings this organization has ever had. But, and I think people saw the price tag and said 50, why couldn't you afford 15? But what this team, you know, what he is as an offensive player is that they have that. They have that with several players. What they don't have offensively is Brendan Donovan.
Yeah.
You know, they've been, I mean, think about this. How long have they been void of a real natural leadoff hitter? Like, when's the last good one?
I'm at 3-run on base percentage, sub 12% strikeout rate. I mean, like, yeah, he's not Kenny Lofton in terms of speed, but you don't need to because you have Julio and like you're gonna go Donovan, Cal, Julio, Randy, Naylor. That's a pretty good first five. It's as good a five as they're rolling out in the AL. I mean, you know, there are a couple other teams with a little bit better lineups, but in the AL West, it's the best first five guys in the AL West, without a doubt.
So if you want more of Inside Pitch with Ryan Divish, we talk a lot about the Donovan trade, listen more on it. Where's he going to play? What's his best fit? What does it mean for Cole Young at second base? And then we spend, I mean, you want to get excited about Colt Emerson. You want to listen to Divish just kind of rave and sit back and gush about about how he thinks Colt Emerson, the 20-year-old, is going to do this year, and whether or not he will be potentially your starting third baseman. Go check it out. Inside Pitch, available to all Posse members right now. It's easy to join, just $5 a month. Cancel anytime. You can sign up for a year if you want. Pucksports.com, easiest way to sign up. All right, let's get to him. Ladies and gentlemen, he joins us every single week. John Canzano from johncanzano.com. All brought to you by our good friends at Flat Stick Pub.
If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com.
And John Canzano, if you like wings, Flat Stick Pub is going to get you covered for the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. 99-cent wings all day long over there at Flat Stick Pub. Plus, they've got a few private rooms that are still available at all of their locations, especially South Lake Union and Pioneer Square. So still some available if you want to get a group. And to go and get a private room, you can still just go sit in the regular spot there.
Can I get a private room? Can I get a private room and do the deal on the wings and just sit in there and watch the game by myself? Like, that sounds like a blast.
That actually would be pretty good. Just a private room by yourself and just 99-cent wings. For 99 cents, how many wings do you think you could eat?
We're talking about a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I might put them out of business. You know, they might lose money on me. That's how many wings 50? I would eat.
You think you go over under 50?
Sure. Why not? It's a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Don't eat just right now. Start fasting. And by the time kickoff comes, you'll be ready.
All right. John Canzano's here, johncanzano.com. You can read all of his work. Also, check out the YouTube page, John Canzano, doing great stuff up there all the time, putting up new videos all the time. Latest one, Dave Pasch, talking about Bill Walton, and just great behind-the-scenes look at the college football playoffs and the championship game, all up there on John's YouTube page, John Canzano. All right, you have this up there, johncanzano.com. We talked about it a lot last week about Jody Allen. Who is she? Why is she loved up or liked up here and then not down in Portland? And then right after that, a few days later, the story comes out. They have yet to confirm it. They've denied it, in fact. But the Seahawks will go for sale after the Super Bowl is complete. That was a report from ESPN.com. So we knew this day was coming, right, John? The timing of it is interesting on the Super Bowl week, so who wanted it out there and all that. But this took a lot longer, though, than I think a lot of people thought it was going to take for her to officially put it up for sale.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the timing of it is really interesting to me because, who benefits from the timing of this? Certainly ESPN and the Wall Street Journal doing some reporting on this. And I don't blame the reporters for asking the questions this week, but it definitely benefits the agenda of the NFL. They do not like that a trustee owns this franchise. They want a real owner. They want somebody who's got a face, who can't hide behind the idea, well, I'm just a trustee. So they want a real ownership group. And I think they have tolerated this franchise being owned by Jody, or, in theory, as the de facto owner for some time here. And maybe they're looking to give her a little push here this week, right? There could be some agenda from the NFL's office, from Roger Goodell, from people in the league who say, hey, we need to get this settled. They don't like the uncertainty around this, and they don't like that a trustee owns it. Further, though, it's Robert Kraft, right? I mean, I had to look at the reporter at ESPN, Seth Wickersham. He's been all over the Patriots for more than a decade. I mean, this is the reporting that he does. He wrote about Sprygate. He wrote about Deflategate. He, quotes Robert Kraft liberally in his book that he wrote about the Patriots in a favorable way. Kraft comes off very favorably in that book. And so I can't help but look at that reporting and see league sources and ownership sources and go, Robert Kraft has to be one of the people that ESPN's talking with to get this confirmation. And Robert Kraft definitely benefits by this story coming out and it being a distraction to the Seahawks and maybe taking some of the conversation away from, the Hall of Fame snub for Tom Brady. And it just changed the conversation beginning day one, even before day one of of the actual Super Bowl week. And so I think there's a little agenda here. I don't think that Roger Goodell and the NFL want Jody to own this team. I think they want to nudge her along like Adam Silver and the NBA did with the Blazers. But yeah, this took too long. Should have happened shortly after that provision in the deal with the city of Seattle lifted in 2024.
It's interesting because if that is Kraft's desire, right? Like it comes out today, he also didn't get elected to the Hall of Fame, just like Belichick. So if his desire, and I agree with you that he's the source.
Yeah.
Does he really think this is going to be a distraction for the players and the coaches? Like, I'm watching all these shows. There is no mention of this sale at all. And I know they were asked a little bit about it yesterday at Media Day, but like the players don't care. This isn't going to affect them preparing for the game. If they lose the game on Sunday, I'll guarantee you this, that Mike McDonald's not going to sit up there or Sam Darnold and go, yeah, we were really distracted all week long with that report coming out that we were up for sale, that we're going to sell. And that really affected the way that we got ready for the New England Patriots. So I really would want to know why that Kraft would think that would be like his little ace in the hole to play.
Well, think about where these owners are going to spend the week, right? They are all going to rent lavish accommodations. When the Super Bowl is held in Miami, they're all renting yachts, right? There's like 32 yachts with, NFL owners throwing parties all week long. So Robert Kraft, when he's in the Super Bowl region in the Bay Area all week, he's, the conversation sure is a little bit about, hey, you and Brady didn't get into the Hall of Fame. But I think, it gives people in the room something else to talk about. And so maybe the distraction really isn't about the team. Maybe it's just about changing the conversation as it pertains to the conversation really was threatened, a week ago about being all about Brady and Kraft, right? And the Patriots. And so if I'm Robert Kraft, this doesn't hurt. I'm also looking for ways in which I can impact the bottom line. The guy's a winner. He's shrewd. He will do anything. He's a win at all costs guy. Spygate, Deflategate. Yeah. He tolerated Belichick. We now know that the relationship between Kraft and Belichick was not great, but he tolerated him because he won him games. Sure. So I do think there's some of that going on here. But the bigger piece, Puck, might just be that the NFL and Roger Goodell are not comfortable with Jody Allen owning this team. There are skeletons in her closet that no one's been comfortable with from the beginning. There's the allegations with the bodyguards and giraffe bones and all this stuff. Yeah. And a trustee owning a team isn't ideal for the league. So maybe the bigger reason, maybe the bigger motivation just may be that the league wants Jody to kind of move along, and this is their way of kind of nudging her out the door.
Is the obvious connection going to be Bezos here?
I think you have to go there because, he expressed interest in the Commanders. Mm-hmm. He'll say he wasn't outbid. And frankly, if he wanted to buy the Commanders, he had the biggest bid. But, I was told something years ago. Paul Allen was still alive. Merritt Paulson owned the Portland Timbers, the MLS club. Merritt Paulson, his dad, Hank Paulson, Secretary of the Treasury, they wanted to buy the Blazers. Okay, they were interested in the Blazers. Merritt goes up to Seattle to meet with Paul Allen, comes back to me. I get a text message from Merritt Paulson, and he says, "Man, Paul hates you. Man, part of our conversation was all about you and your, how critical you are of the team." And I said, "What are you doing meeting with Paul Allen?" And he says, Paul has to want to sell me the team. And Merritt Paulson worked in the NBA league office under Adam Silver. We got into a conversation about how these teams are sold. It's not just the highest bidder. There is a holistic feel to some of this where the owner has to want to sell you this asset. This is not like buying a house. This is not like buying something on eBay. This is the owner has to want to sell it to you. Then you find market value. Bezos was not welcomed by Daniel Snyder and his family. They did not want Bezos to own that team. They wanted to sell it to someone else. Now, I do think Bezos becomes a candidate here unless he's lost interest in owning an NFL team. He becomes a candidate. He's one of the few people on the planet that can step in. He has $253 billion in net worth. He could buy this thing with, the change in his seat cushion. I mean, it's just, he's one of the few people who could just do it. And he's got a connection to Seattle. So I think your mind goes there. But I also would keep an eye on some of these NBA ownership groups that are lining up to potentially have the expansion Seahawks. I think there's a real chance that one of these groups kind of pivots and says, hey, wait a minute, we got a shot at an NFL team. They're already in position. They're already sort of gathering the capital and the steam and the momentum to be in position for when the NBA does this. I did talk to a member of one of those ownership groups right around the time the Blazers went for sale. They kicked the tires on the Blazers. So they're looking for other opportunities because they know they might not get the Sonics. So I think the Seahawks become an interesting play for somebody else.
Yeah, it'd be interesting maybe in the contract language. I don't know if Allen liked Bezos or not. Maybe he didn't back in the day and just said, listen, you can sell the team, but I don't want him to buy it. I don't know. I mean,
there might be. Yeah, it could be that simple.
Like that.
Yeah, these billionaires. Look, I had somebody tell me this. When the Blazers were for sale, Phil Knight wanted the Blazers, right? Evident Jody did not want to sell to Phil Knight.
Sure.
And I had an NBA executive tell me there's nothing that a billionaire likes more than telling another billionaire to pound sand.
Sure. Yeah,
That's
absolutely. I get it. Let's switch over to college football. It looked like we were close to this Pac-12 schedule for football being released, and then kind of got pushed back a little bit. And then there's some developing stuff here with the Mountain West and media deals. Let's first start with the schedule. What is causing the delay? What's holding it up right now?
Well, I think part of the delay has to do with the Mountain West. I think the Pac-12 knew that the Mountain West was coming with their media deal. I had a source in the Pac-12 tell me yesterday, Mountain West is going to announce today. And they did, just as we were going on air here. Mountain West announced their media deal. We'll get to that in a second. But the Pac-12 delay, I think in part is caused by they want a little bit of room between the Mountain West announcement of their media deal and what they want to do. But I think they've mostly agreed in principle to what they're going to do with the schedule. And keep in mind, there's 8 football playing members in the Pac-12 this season coming up in 26. That means 7 natural conference games, 4 non-conference games, leaves you a game short. So, I think they've toyed with a head-to-head, home and home. They've toyed with a bunch of different philosophies. I actually think they're going to do something creative, Puck. I think they're going to do some kind of flex scheduling where maybe they tentatively set up the schedule for like week 12, but they put an asterisk there and they say, hey, we reserve the right to change the matchups in week 12 because the aim here is to get a team in the playoff, in that 12-team playoff. And so if they can sort of jimmy rig week 12 and create a matchup that A, is better for their TV partners, and B, gets Boise State or Washington State into the playoff, if they're right, battling Tulane or JMU or battling UNLV for that playoff spot, it gives you an advantage. So I think they're going to maintain a little bit of flexibility. They may set it up. The question becomes, if you do play, an opponent in conference play more than once, do both of them count in the standings? Does only one count in the standings? If so, is it the first meeting or the second meeting? I think all that stuff has been talked about and mostly been settled. I think we'll get an announcement on the schedule before Valentine's Day. I think it's coming.
Okay. What is the details on the TV deal for a Mountain West?
Well, the Mountain West did something interesting, and maybe it's the strategy that you and I would have come up with had we been their consultant. They used Endeavor, which is the same consultant that was sort of meddling behind the scenes against, the Pac-12 back in the day. But Endeavor is a big partner with Fox, so I expected Fox, FS1, FS2 would be part of this deal. I think there are about 14 games that are going to be on FS1, FS2, and potentially Fox in this deal. They did a deal with the CW. I'm told there's not a lot of money in it, but they're after the same distribution that the Pac-12 has. They're trying to mirror what the Pac-12 is doing. There are, I believe, 13 games in the Mountain West, about 1 a week that will be on the CW. So that'll be interesting to see games on the CW. And then beyond that, they went with CBS Sports. I think that part was not surprising at all. That's a holdover. I think Gloria Nevarez did pretty well for what she has left to sell. The Pac-12 is probably looking over going, hey, you copycatted us on CBS Sports and the CW. The Mountain West, I think, did that with some intention. I think their goal is to try to align themselves and be as much like the Pac-12 as they can possibly be to make it look like, hey, we have similar deals. But if you really drill into it, I think it's much broader exposure for the Pac-12. I think there's going to be about double the money for the media deal in the Pac-12. And the Pac-12 is probably going to sit back a little bit today and snicker a little bit and say, hey, look, they're going to put some games on the CW, but guess who makes money on that? Pac-12 Enterprises will produce those games. So I think there's that going on as well.
Yeah, I'm going to get a prediction on the Super Bowl here to wrap it up. But first, I want to, you know what? You had tweeted it. I had seen it earlier. I think there's a real strong case, and it was the crowd at the Utah State-San Diego State game, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, like high-level enthusiasm and basketball atmosphere. And I think that's the thing that's exciting about this conference. I know we're always focused on football, but is what this conference can be basketball-wise next year. And you could make a real strong argument that the environment in this new conference will be equal, and I dare to say better than what the old Pac-12 was.
Oh, yeah. I think it'll be better. And I think it has a chance as a group to have it could be a 4-bid league. I mean, it could be the number 4 conference in the country when it comes to basketball. I think it slips in front of the Big East. But you have Utah State has phenomenal environment.
Oh.
You got San Diego State has a phenomenal environment. I'm looking over at Washington State and Oregon State and going, hey, you better step it up because
it's the worst.
These road games are going to be hostile. Gonzaga, I mean, and you're going to have good opponents. You had better invest a little in basketball. And, you know, the Pac-12's taken this eat what you kill mentality. 50% of your NCAA tournament units will go to the school who earns it. And then the rest of the league will split the rest. That's potentially a lot of money for Gonzaga, San Diego State, Utah State, these schools that have been perennial participants. Boise State has, you know, been very good, very respectable in the last few years. Colorado State's no slouch. But I think, you know, if you're looking at, you know, Texas State and Oregon State, Washington State, you better get with it. You better start investing. I'm going to Utah State, my Pac-12 tour, February 18th. They're hosting Boise State there at Utah State. I'm going to be on campus. I'm going to write about it, capture the scene. You know, I think it should be a lot of fun.
All right, last thing. Prediction. How do you think the game unfolds on Sunday?
I think it's the Seahawks game to lose. I think I'm with everybody else in America. I think they cover the spread. I think they win this thing comfortably. I don't think it's going to be as challenging a game as, you know, they saw in the playoffs in the NFC Championship game. I think they win this thing and they do it comfortably. I just don't think the Patriots can score with them. I think the Seahawks, right team, right time, peaking, playing their best football. I just love them in this game. And, you know, barring a, you know, deer in the headlights, Sam Darnold moment where, you know, he throws 2 or 3 interceptions, I think they win this game.
Thank you, John. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Take care, man.
There he is, John Canzano, johncanzano.com. Go read all of his work. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Also check out, remember, he's done with the radio, no more radio. So go check out all his content, video, podcasts up there on YouTube and all podcast platforms. That last answer to what's going to happen on Sunday, our next guest right now is just chewing off every fingernail, listening to Canzano answer that question about how he thinks the game is going to unfold coming up on Sunday. We'll switch gears over to the NFL. We talk all things NFL with Danny Kelly from The Ringer. As always, our NFL coverage brought to you by Georgetown Brewery.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, from The Ringer offices, I believe, in Los Angeles. It is our guy, Danny Kelly. You can follow him on social media, Danny B. Kelly, senior staff writer at The Ringer Fantasy Football Show, which you can now watch on Netflix. Doo-doo. All right? New episodes there, and, of course, on all the other podcast platforms that you know and love. And, of course, we talk all things brought to you about the NFL, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. They still have their deal that they've had all season long this Sunday. 2 Manny's Growler fills for $12. You can fill up 2 growlers of Manny's for just $12. Despite the Super Bowl kicking off at 3:30, they will have their regular hours open on Sunday. They open up at 10 a.m. and will close at 8 p.m. All right, Danny, you heard John Canzano, our last guest, talk about it's going to be pretty relatively easy win. Start the frickin' parade right now. I know you, and I know how you fan. You hear that, your reaction is what?
It just feels like we're all a little too confident, maybe. It is funny, though, because I think everybody is kind of on the Seahawks right now. Everybody that I've talked to is pretty confident, which either makes me really confident or makes me really nervous. I'm not quite sure what yet. I agree completely with John. It feels like the Seahawks are the better team. Everything you look at in terms of statistics this year, they are the better team. I think just talent across the board, they're better. But weird stuff happens, man, in the Super Bowl. Weird stuff happens in the playoffs. And the Darnold factor is still a thing. The turnover factor is still a thing. So the Seahawks have to play a clean game, and that's not a given.
So we've all been trying to come up with the same answer to the question, how do they not win, right? Or trying to figure out a way, how does New England beat them? And it's so funny how we talk about New England. Like Jim Moore brought this up the other day. He's like, you guys, they're 14-3. It's not like they're some fluke of a football team. And they went through some very good defenses in the playoffs. And so they hear all the noise. And I know Vrabel's going to use all of this. All of it. For those guys. And I listened to all their press conferences yesterday. They're doing a good job of, nothing bulletin board material, very respectful of the Seahawks, all of it. And it's a good football team. It's a likable team, by the way. This isn't like the Belichick teams where you hated everyone on the team. But I guess the only thing I come to the conclusion, you just mentioned it, again, comes back to Sam Darnold, because I think there's everybody in their back of their head is like, I know, but what if? I know what he's done the last 3 or 4 weeks, but just what if?
Yeah.
Let's remove the Darnold thought that everyone's got.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How would New England beat them?
I think if the Seahawks try and run the ball a lot and New England manages to stuff the run, make Seattle one-dimensional, I think that could be an issue. And it kind of reminds me of like the first 49ers game. So I think that was like week 18 where they won. They kind of dominated the game, but then
first game of the season.
Sorry. The first of two, the last two. So like obviously it was the 13-3 game.
Yeah.
And to me, that's kind of like the type of game I'm picturing where I think the Seahawks are going to make it tough for the Patriots to score. Yeah. And so the question is, how many points do the Seahawks need to score to win the game? I'm like, honestly, 17, 18, and I think the Seahawks will win. That's how confident I am in the Seahawks defense. Now, anything can happen, of course. But I just think the Seahawks defense, the way that they're playing right now, I think they're going to be pissed off about giving up so many yards and points to the Rams in this last game. I think they're going to be on it. So to me, the question is, how are the Seahawks going to score points? And if they can't run the ball, are they going to be playing behind the sticks a bunch? Are they going to have a bunch of 3 and outs? Yeah. So that's kind of like, the way that the Seahawks have been running the ball the last 4 or 5 weeks, that is going to be a critical factor in this game. If Kenneth Walker can get loose, because the Patriots have a very good front and they're very good against the run. And if the Seahawks are unable to get that kind of run game going, I think that could be a major, major variable here. And that could spoil what otherwise feels like, the Seahawks type of game.
Well, and I think to piggyback on that, Danny, is that I agree with you. I think if there's any way that this game is going to go, and I've said, and we talked about this for the last couple of weeks, I think exactly what you said. See, I think it's that week 18 game against San Francisco. I think it's very, it just feels like that. And a game
in which ugly.
I think it's going to be a little, exactly. It's not going to be the best. I think people are going to afterwards going to like, oh my God, that was, didn't have a lot of excitement, right? Doesn't matter though the fan base that wins the game, but it's going to have that 13-3 feel that maybe New England's driving down late, like San Francisco was, and then there was a turnover. But a game in which Seattle should have maybe put them away a little bit earlier, but didn't. Had a few things. I think this is a game we saw it a little bit in the Rams championship game. I think after the first few drives, I think you saw the real effect of not having Zach Charbonnet after the first 2 drives of the NFC championship game, because the first 2 drives, they're giving it to Walker like on every play, and he's the boom, and he was great. Then either he got tired or what, and they know that they just can't feed him 30 times. They started bringing in Holani a little bit more. You saw Holani drop a pass. You also saw Holani make a couple of plays in the passing game as well. I thought after that first quarter, you really saw not having Zach Charbonnet. I think this plays even a bigger factor into the Super Bowl of not having that other guy to spell Ken Walker that is a real threat to run. Let's be honest, Holani's not a threat. When he comes in, they know they're passing. I mean, absolutely, they're not handing him the ball. And I think, they didn't run the ball all that well in the championship game. I mean, they averaged like 3 yards. And New England's much better against the run than that Rams team.
Yeah, so that's like my main worry going into this game is are they going to get turned? Are they going to be one dimensional on offense? And is that going to force the Seahawks passing game into some situations that they don't want to be in? 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. So yeah, basically it's just like, can they play a clean game? Can they avoid penalties that kind of set them back into keep them off schedule? Because I think they're going to have to score. Like I said, like if they score 17, 18, 20, 21 points in this game, I think they win. So it's like, I'm just going to be counting to get to that, So, are they going to like settle for field goals early on when they could go for it? How aggressive is Mike McDonald going to be? Things like that, I think are kind of like what I'm going to be watching in this game. So getting a quick start on the game and that will kind of tell me, I think, like how this offense is going to look throughout the game.
Yeah, 17 is kind of my number. I think
just get there.
I think they get to 17. I just can't envision that offense scoring more of the 17 points because I don't think they're going to, despite having a pretty good, a decent little 1-2 punch at the backs, I just don't think they're going to be able to run that much. And I think that for Drake May, who said there was a Dugar? Yeah, Mike Dugar said this, and that was a great point. You look at some of the quarterbacks they've struggled with of bringing down, like sacking. Matt Stafford is the number one guy. They just can't sack. And then even old man Phillip Rivers. And Mike's point was veteran quarterbacks that avoid sacks because they're so smart, they're so seasoned, they know where to get the ball out, and they know where to get the ball out fast.
Right.
This Drake May is an uber talented quarterback who's certainly athletic, who's made a ton of plays with his feet. So what does that mean? That means he's going to try to extend plays, stay in the pocket a second longer, and I think that's going to be his mistake because I think that's when these guys are going to get to him, and they've got elite speed on that front that certainly can match Drake May, and I think that's going to be the difference. He's taken 15 sacks in the playoffs.
I know. I was going to say that's been a massive, massive issue for them, and he's fumbled a couple of times in the playoffs. So I think, and I'm just looking at the regular season stats. He was 4th worst in terms of sacks taken in the regular season. So that's like a huge issue. I think if the Seahawks can kind of get to him, I mean, also he's got this shoulder issue. Not that it's necessarily a huge issue going into the game, but that's something to kind of pay attention as you get along. If you sack him a few times, that could affect him as well. So yeah, I think, I just keep going back to the only team that really could move the ball and score on the Seahawks this year, the entire season, was the Rams. Yeah. Like the Seahawks defense is so good. And I think they're going to have a good plan to make life hard on Drake May. I don't think that the Patriots are going to be able to score very many points. So it kind of comes down to special teams. Obviously that's been a big advantage for the Seahawks if they can play well on special teams, and if they can, move the football a little bit on offense, I think they'll be just fine. So, how you doing? Are you a nervous wreck at this point yet? Or are you good?
I think when you start talking about how they're good against the run, I start getting a little bit more nervous because of the Charbonnet thing that we just talked about. But no, I wasn't. It's in a weird way wasn't going into the game. Especially when I walked into the championship game with my son. I just wasn't nervous. I just thought they were going to win the game. I thought they were just going to do enough to win. And I just I can't. What makes me nervous is that I'm not nervous.
Right. I think that's where I am too. That's honestly kind of where I am. I don't know. I just look at the Seahawks team, man, and they have like a perfect little mixture of veteran and youth, and they're so confident. I mean, it is really funny. It just reminds me so much of the Legion of Boom teams, where coming into that Super Bowl against the Broncos in 2013, it was just like, they knew they were going to win. They knew they were going to win that game. They knew they were going to dominate that game. The Seahawks of this Seahawks team has that kind of same vibe to it, where they just are supremely confident. They know what they can do. I love all the messaging that they have, where it's like, just, worry about us and do our thing, and the score will kind of take care of itself. I don't know. I'm feeling good about it, of course, but the problem is anything can happen. Ball bounce is funny. A couple of big plays early on, and maybe they're on the wrong foot there, and then it turns into a different type of game. But, I feel good that I think the Seahawks, I can pretty confidently say, are the better team.
Yeah, I think most people agree with that, right? Yeah, they just are. But you're right, it's sports, and funny stuff happens. I would just say this. I think if I look who's going to be the most impactful player on Sunday, I think the combination of whether it's, and they sometimes move them around, but Derek Hall, Lawrence, whoever's going to be sitting over their left tackle, Will Campbell, I think is just going to have a field because that kid is not.
He's been really struggling. Yeah. I mean, he had a up and down season already, but I think he's been banged up. He just has been really bad.
I think you got to go after him hard. Whether you send an extra blitz, you got to set the tone early defensively that kid's day is going to be long, like really long.
I mean, if you look in how the Texans played him, I think they had a couple plays where they got him on his like, where he's like following through, the ball goes back, and they got strip sacks on that. If they can get a couple turnovers, this game could get out of hand quickly for them. So yeah, man, gonna be fun. I'm the same as you. I'm like, I feel really confident about the Seahawks, but once that game gets going, anything can happen. But I do think, they're just really good in all three phases. I hope they can play a clean game. I hope Darnold, I hope they don't ask Darnold to do too much, because that's like kind of where you get into trouble. And get him in the flow of the game, get him some layups, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, but and I hear that, but look at and this is a better defense than what he saw last week. But I think look what he did last week. I mean, he was asked, or 2 weeks ago, right now.
Yeah.
Whatever. He was asked to win the game, and he won it. I'm not like we brought it up earlier. I'm not concerned about Darnold. I just know that there's people out there that feel that the biggest reason they would lose would be because he does something weird or stupid or has a turnover or whatever. And I'm not saying that, listen, any quarterback can have that. Drake May can have that. I think he's going to have a very much like a performance that he probably, and this is all they need from him. I think the way that if they can run the ball, especially, and the way their defense is going to play. But it is kind of dependent on how they can run the ball. Right. Again, I'll reference that last game against San Francisco. I think he was like 17-20 in that game, maybe. I don't even know if he threw, or maybe he was 14-17. He didn't throw much, almost 200 yards. Yeah. But again, it comes back to that X factor of not having Zach Charbonnet. And I think maybe you turn to Ken Walker and you just said, hey, man, you're in a contract year. This is the last game. You're not coming out. Okay.
Right.
You're not coming out of the game. Because I even like him in the 2 minute. Now I know they bring him out in the 2 minute to bring in Charbonnet, and then in this case they bring in Holani. But the most underrated thing about Ken Walker is his ability in the passing game.
Yeah,
you get that ball to him in space on screens or just throwing out to him in the flat. He makes anybody miss. I love that element of him. And I think if we could, you and I could text Clint Kubiak right now. One, we would say, don't take the Raiders job.
What are you doing?
Mistake. Number two would be my first 5 plays, if we can script it to you, would just be that quick little throw to JSN right away. That little one, where he just turns and catches it and goes. 5 straight times. Just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Get like 3, 4, 5 yards, and then he maybe breaks one, and then the next thing you fake it and Shaheed goes deep. Come on, Kubiak.
I know, man. Can't wait. I'm excited. I'm excited.
What I would do. So you're in agreement with me on Kubiak. Big mistake, man. I think it's a huge mistake he's making.
I mean, look, he has the opportunity here, obviously, like with what the Seahawks have done this year offensively. This is like a huge opportunity for him. He's going into a system. He's going into a team that has the first overall pick, almost surely going to pick Fernando Mendoza, who is I think a good prospect at quarterback. But I mean, the overall situation on that franchise is not great. I mean, you truly have to bring this team out of they're the worst team in the NFL. You have to do that. So that's not easy. And that is, I think, a really, really risky move. I don't know. It's one of those things where he probably should have pulled a Ben Johnson, had another season where he does really well, and then has the opportunity to go to some team with a veteran established quarterback, or just like a better, franchise in terms of like stability and all the like good defense or whatever. To me, this feels pretty risky. So I obviously bummed for the Seahawks. They're gonna have to find another offensive coordinator, 3rd straight year. But yeah, I think there's a lot there that he could probably have pulled a Ben Johnson and ended up somewhere with like a higher success rate or a higher probable success rate.
All right, two last things. One will get you a prediction, but what happened to media night on the Super Bowl? They used to be fun. And like I'm watching this last night, it was terrible.
Just
the
boring.
Coverage was awful. What happened to when they used to put like Deion Sanders walking around and just have a camera on this guy and walk around and ask people questions? Stupid. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Where were the Telemundo girls?
Right there. I remember a couple of years ago, Cooper Manning, Peyton Manning's brother, was walking around. And there's all these they had a bunch of spectacle things that were like kind of sprinkled in. They had like all these weird, guys dressed up in hot dog costumes walking around interviewing people. Maybe they're cracking down on that. They want to be a little more serious on media now.
I didn't need to watch, and no disrespect to oh God, who was the running back? Who's the running back that's on there for the Rams? He's now the Rams. The guy that was a Jaguars running back. He was on with Michael Robinson. Thank you. And Michael Robinson. Great. They do a great job. I don't need them breaking down the game for 2 hours. Like I want weird interviews. That's what I want. I want weird, uncomfortable questions.
Did anybody say anything off color or weird or funny?
No, everybody. God, Mike McDonald must have been asked about what would you do at the 1 yard line?
Right. God.
He
Classic.
should have just said, F it. You know what?
I'd throw.
I would have run the fucking ball. Pete Carroll was an idiot.
Yeah. They had Simply Seattle. They run the damn ball. They made some run the damn ball hats. I don't know if you saw that, but
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go pick it up.
Yeah. So they, Simply Seattle's a great spot. Those guys do a great work there. All right. Prediction. What do you think? Final score.
I think the Seahawks will win. I'm going to say 20-13. I think they'll cover. Again, I'm counting the points. If they can get to 17, I feel good. If they can get to 20, I feel really good.
Perfect. Well, I'm in. All right, Danny, enjoy yourself. Thank you for doing it. Check Danny's work at The Ringer, of course, on Netflix, Ringer Fantasy Football Show, Ringer NFL Draft Show, and, of course, on Netflix. And check out the podcast wherever you get the podcast. Of course, Spotify, #1 spot. Thank you, Danny. See you next week.
Thank you.
There he is, Danny Kelly. Danny B. Kelly, The Ringer. Again, check it out. Check the show out now on Netflix. He joins us every single week. We got a special visit coming up next. Former guy used to join us on the radio show, Joe Fann. Joe was a reporter for a long, long time. He's one of the great kind of sports voices that we have. It's too bad he's not doing it anymore, but we, carve out some time here for him. I wanted to talk to Joe this week. Obviously, growing up here, he covered the Seahawks for a while. He used to cover the 49ers. I think he's got great thoughts, great opinions on not just the Seahawks, but all sports. Now living in Vegas, doing real estate. So we're going to talk to Joe Fann in a quick second. But first, let's get another word from one of our great sponsors. Again, they're going to be open this Sunday, normal hours, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Georgetown Brewery. And they got a great deal going on that they've had all season long. 2 refills of Manny Growlers for just $12. For $12, you can go fill up growlers there of Manny's. Again, all of our NFL coverage brought to you by Georgetown Brewery.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
Look who it is. It is an old friend of the radio days. Ladies and gentlemen, real estate mogul. Man, it's taking over all of Las Vegas, Nevada. It's our good friend Joe Fann, who's back with us. He's on the Daily Puck Drop, making his debut. But God, we go back. God, Joe, years ago, you were at Comcast. You came on once a week when we were doing the show on KJR, and man, it seems like ages ago, man. But good to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Puck. I appreciate the invite, man. It is wild to think how long it has been. I sort of forget how long I've been in Vegas now, and we're at like 4.5 years, which is crazy. It's the longest I've ever been anywhere since high school, which is hard to fathom. But yeah, man, life's good. I can't complain, but it's great to chat with you, and certainly pumped for this week.
Yeah, this week is great. It's, when you were back, covering kind of all of Seattle sports and then covering the Seahawks, right? You got to kind of take you grew up here, you got to kind of take the fan element out of it. But it's hard because when you grow up in an area, right? And you see a team that throughout your entire, childhood and high school and all of that, now again becoming one of these teams now, fourth different appearance in the Super Bowl. It's just like I think back to a lot, Joe, that when I was growing up, like, this is just odd to me. It's odd to me, like the place that this organization is in right now among all of these other teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, they just couldn't have hit a bigger home run with the transition from, the Pete Carroll era that was arguably the most successful era in all of Seattle sports history. And, I was kind of long a critic, thinking it, maybe should have ended a few years before it did. But what a blessing that it ended when it did, when Mike McDonald's available, and he has just been tremendous. And what I go back to is he would have been a fantastic coach and culture builder for anybody. But I think specifically in the NFC West, where you're forced to face Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, two of, if not the two best offensive minds in football, you have to face each of those guys twice a year, and especially this year, all roads to the Super Bowl led to the NFC West. He is just the perfect X's and O's counterpunch on the other side of the football that I think this is a really easy team to root for. He's an easy guy to root for, and I just think he fits so perfectly in this division. It's a lot of fun.
Is a week like this, you've left that media life behind, right? For as you were the new real estate mogul in Vegas, as we started off the show with. Is it a week like this you can miss it a little bit? You miss it because the grind and the action of kind of being in bed with the team and being able to cover something like this, which is, again, it's a lot of work, but Joe, it's just a lot of fun to be entrenched in a week like this covering the Super Bowl.
I miss sports all the time. I miss being a part of game day, and I'll forever cherish the memories I had of being at road games and being with the Seattle Times crew on a nightmare travel day to get to Green Bay for the divisional round in 2020 or 2019. There's just so many things that I got to experience, people I got to meet, talk to, interview, rub elbows with, grab a drink with. That's always going to be a really, really special memories for me. So yeah, I do miss it from that standpoint. But I think what's been fun is being able to step away from it for a while. And I feel like, this is a team that's really gotten me back in from oh wait, I give a shit about what's going on here, because I sort of have a weird journey too. I was with the Niners, and I still have good friends there because they were so good to me, and some of my best friends, my groomsmen, were still work for the Niners. It's I always want them to be happy and successful in their careers and whatever. And then I covered the Seahawks, and once you're part of the day-to-day, you're never going to sit back and be on your couch rah. But now I feel so removed from it. And again, this team and this coaching staff, this organization is so easy to root for that when I really noticed it was the Thursday night game against the Rams. And I remember watching, and I'll watch whenever I can, but they can't really ruin my day the way the Mariners can. And they still can't to that degree. But I was sitting on my couch and I was I'm yelling at the TV, and my wife is whoa. And I was yeah, wait, whoa. And so really since then, I'm just really enjoying this ride. I'm actually going on Sunday. We're flying up on Saturday to be at the game on Sunday. So while I wish I was there covering it, I'm excited to be 6 to 8 beers deep and enjoying it as a fan. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, damn right. It's the best, because it's hard, right? Everybody's a sports fan that gets kind of in this business, and then when you're in it, you got to cover it, and you can't be one-sided. But it kind of robs a little bit of that kid joy that you have a little bit.
It robs most of it, now, to be honest.
Yeah. So now you got it back. All right. You said it a couple times. Why is it, from your perspective? What makes this team so likable?
Oh, I mean, you've got the coolest underdog story in recent memory in the NFL with Sam Darnold, who by all accounts is an incredible dude. And this city's sort of been able to rally around and embrace his continuing arc of his comeback story from bust with the New York Jets to wait, this guy's not just serviceable, but the reason why you can win a Super Bowl, not just the guy who's going to kind of get you there and not lose it for you. I mean, regardless of what happens on Sunday against the Patriots, even if he were to stink, which I don't think he's going to, I'm not saying it that way, but they wouldn't be here without him. They lose that Rams game if he's not 10 out of 10. So that's been really neat. JSN is the coolest receiver in football and potentially the best. So now, like, you have a superstar wideout. You've got a couple of running backs who can make a bunch of plays, an offensive line that is so greatly improved from what it was the last couple years. And then you name all the stars on defense. You've got this like veteran-led defensive line with like Dexter Lawrence from the Cowboys, who's like now all of a sudden like this guy who loves being in Seattle. Ernest Jones is so much fun. You have a Cooper Kupp back is super fun. I mean, you can go down the roster, but I do think it all starts with Mike Macdonald, and I think he says all the right things. And certainly he demands respect over his X's and O's acumen. And I think that may be the big difference between him and Pete Carroll. You know, like Pete Carroll is teaching the master class of building culture, getting buy-in, squeezing the rag dry, and getting absolutely everything out of his talent. But like, did he show up against Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, again, to go back to those two, and have a counterpunch X's and O's wise where he's during the week drawing it up on the whiteboard saying, this is how we're going to be able to make this happen? I think the fact that Mike Macdonald gives you that is really cool.
Yeah, I would go the Darnold story for sure. And it is one of those things. It's like that this weekend is the last thing for him to check off, because even when, I agree with you, the Rams game, both Niner games, like it's been checkbox on all three of those, right? Because he was in a situation a year ago where they came down to the number one seed, and he personally failed. I mean, the team failed, but he personally failed. Divisional round, same deal. But he didn't win those games against San Francisco, didn't lose those games, but he just played like that was an efficient football game in both outings, just efficient. And, they could take a similar approach this weekend and be fine. But you're right. I think what really, I think has kind of opened him up even more, Joe, is he won that game in the NFC Championship game. This wasn't, hey, we need you not to make any turnovers. It wasn't that. It was, we need you to win it because we can't slow these guys down. And he did that. So I'm real curious how that frees him up and opens him up in the Super Bowl. But you're right. I think there's still a lot of fans out there, and I get it, are kind of, watch him a little bit with kind of, one hand over their eyes a little bit, because you're just thinking, oh, God, if he throws a pick, then does it come in bunches? Because I think everyone would acknowledge the thing that will hold them back Sunday would be a performance like that, like where he had it earlier this season against the Rams, right? Because that's what it feels like.
It's hard to forget someone saying they're seeing ghosts and having it broadcast to the world on national TV. Like, it's hard to completely forget that was this guy. Now, if there's any team it happened with that's easily forgivable, it's the freaking Jets. Like, it's funny to see Jets fans being like, this is the greatest moment of me being a Jets fan during my lifetime, is hopefully seeing Sam Darnold beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, which is just a glorious and sad statement on what it's like to grow up a Jets fan. I think what I would say is a continuation of like is he still the seeing ghosts guy? Is as bad as he was against the Rams, as bad as he was, you never looked at him on the sideline or saw him come into the huddle and saw a dude who was rattled. So it does feel like he has been able to develop this short memory, which is all stems from confidence that, okay, this sucks, but I'm fine. I can do this. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep slinging it. I'm not going to get gun shy. I'm not going to whatever. That to me told me a lot, because I think, again, seeing ghosts is a direct correlation to a lack of confidence, lack of belief. You're gun shy. You don't know what's happening. To, okay, how do you respond to a tough game? I thought he was wonderful against the Rams, as bad as it was.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like, I think for him, and he never, and what I respect about him, Joe, is that he doesn't talk about it.
Mm-mm.
Every time he's asked for, hey, you've been through this journey, how does it feel? Like he was
You
asked
shut
that
the haters
a lot.
up. Oh,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Nate.
and
Yeah.
and he just completely puts it to right. No, I'm glad for the team. I'm glad for us. And again, now he's human, so I guarantee he thinks about it. It's been in the back of his mind of how others have viewed him. He doesn't seem to allow it to dominate, how he goes out and plays, and he does have a short memory. And I just think I think the step that he's taken this year, especially in the last few weeks, is paramount for him. And not only just for Sunday, but I think for future success. The guy's 28 years old. I mean, he hasn't even technically reached his prime yet as a quarterback. And who knows what's going to happen in the next few years with him and this organization. So it's a hell of a story. And if they do win, obviously he's going to have a huge part in it. It really is one of the greatest, underdog, you used it, but kind of comeback stories. Guys left for dead and written off by everyone that comes back. And I think it's a great, message to a lot of people, kids and stuff. Don't get down on yourself. Don't stop believing in yourself when you've got this dream. So, which brings us to this, though, because I think everyone's asking the same question leading up to this game. And I'm just curious, what your answer to this will be. I think a lot of Seahawks fans are struggling to come up of a scenario where they don't win. And they look at this game. And again, New England's had an unbelievable year. They're here for a reason. The line hasn't moved. Line's been steady and all that. It's been 4.5. It's not crazy. And you just look at metrics, and then I think you look at the eyeballs, and you're like, I just don't see New England being in the same category as Seattle. Obviously, weird things happen in sports, Joe. You've covered it long enough to know that. I mean, ball bounces one weird way, some fluky turnovers, hell, an injury. I don't know. How can you close your eyes and envision a scenario, or I'm sure you could, but what's the scenario in which New England would pull off the upset?
The run defense is bad again, like it was against the Rams, giving up 5+ yards a carry. And Ramondre Stevenson's been running the ball well. I mean, I think he's sort of a forgotten guy given his turnover issues. They brought in Travion Henderson, but he's been stellar for them in his last couple months. And then you have a home run hitter in Travion Henderson that, I think there's a bit that makes you nervous there, especially with Drake May being mobile. They have enough on offense to scare you. Not that the Seahawks defense isn't better, but there's enough there to avoid saying, oh, they're not going to be able to move the football. And then with how good the Patriots defensive line has been, and they have been dominant. And again, you talk about the quarterbacks, the lines they played, but right where we're going through this exercise of how does it happen? Milton Williams, again, dominant in 3 games in the playoffs. That whole defensive line has been. So if you get just smoked in the trenches, pass rush wasn't great against the Rams. A couple moments, but wasn't super consistent. That being said, I think they're going to win by 8 points. I really do. I just think they're that much better. And what a fun season for it all to sort of come to a head, because, and I started talking about it in the middle of the season, this team can win a Super Bowl. If not because they are that good, because the rest of the league is that mediocre. There just never at any point this season was anybody you looked at and said, who's going to beat those guys? So then it's well, why not Seattle? They could beat anybody. And then as the season went on, it became that much more obvious that they certainly were capable. So what a fun, random season. And I wish we could go back in time and place a bet in Vegas that the Seahawks and Patriots would be playing each other in the Super Bowl, because we'd be rich men.
There is, going back to your old gig of talking sports and talking betting. There was a guy, or I don't even know, or gal, I don't know. There was a bettor at MGM. I don't even know if they're a Seahawks fan. In the beginning of the season, back in August, had made a total of $150,000 bets on certain scenarios for the Seahawks. One was I think it was, off the top of my head, it was winning the division, winning the NFC, and winning the Super Bowl. And it's going to pay this bettor out $4.5 million. Can you just imagine this person on Sunday gearing up for this? There might have been one more thrown in there. I can't remember. But, gee, you want to talk, these players aren't going to sleep Saturday night, Joe. If I'm this person who's sitting on a potential $4.5 million after putting up $150, I'm like, there's no way I'm sleeping the night before. Not a chance.
There's no way I'm sleeping the night before. I would hedge something on the Patriots, especially because they're an underdog, just to because going from 4 million to 0 is not something I could stomach. I know there's people out there that say never hedge. I'm not one of those people. I like to secure a victory. But yeah, that's again, a lot of fun. And I think there's no reason for that individual to not feel immensely confident. This is a really damn good football team.
Yeah. Joe, man, it was great catching up with you. I know you said Seahawks by 8 or more points. Have fun there, watching the game in person. Have fun just being a fan again. Appreciate the visit. Let's do it again if we can. It was great. Great seeing you, and I'm super happy you're doing so well there in Vegas. And I know a lot of people back here in Seattle, they miss you. They miss listening to you, miss seeing your face, talking sports. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, that means a ton, Puck. Thanks for the invite. Go Hawks, and look forward to chatting again soon.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
Again, big thanks to Joe Fann for joining us. Good to catch up with Joe. He's was one. He was a very talented, still is, writer, doing a bunch of TV, radio, and writing over the years, covering sports. Now in Las Vegas, doing real estate. He'll be at the game, cheering his Seahawks on coming up there on Sunday. Another reminder, a day early, but Inside Pitch with Ryan Divish is out right now. For you to watch and listen to as we discussed the Brendan Donovan trade. Divish was getting on a flight to get on out of here, so we had to catch up with him today. Also, thoughts on Colt Emerson, who very may well be the third baseman. We'll see where they put Donovan. They put his best position is second base compared to third base. His most experience is at second base. So we'll see what they do. But full breakdown of the Donovan trade available right now for Puck's Posse members. Go to pucksports.com to sign up. All right, let's get to On This Day, which is brought to you by Hive Social, the official social meetup app of Puck Sports, made in Seattle by a Coug like myself. Hive Social brings people together in real life. Download Hive Social on iOS and Google Play. It is free. That is HYV Social. You can now connect with the Puck's Posse members and all of our listeners there at Hive Social. That's HYV Social. All right. On this day, February 3rd, want a local product here? Musician done good? Well, a lot of musicians done good. 1967, Seattle product Jimi Hendrix. He adds vocals to, of course, his hit song Purple Haze. That song was inducted in the Grammy Hall of Fame and is considered one of the greatest guitar songs of all time. Born in Seattle 1942, he attended Washington Middle School before going on to Garfield High School, but never did graduate there as a Garfield Bulldog. On this day in 2008, New York Giants pulled off a major upset over the New England Patriots. Of course, you know the story. Patriots were trying to cap an undefeated season. They lose, though, there to Eli Manning and the Giants 17-14. On this day, the music world lost some icons. 1959, the day the music died. Plane crash killing Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, J.P. Richardson, better known as the Big Bopper, all perished in a plane crash in Iowa in 1959. On this day, happy birthdays. A couple of quarterbacks, legendary quarterbacks. Fran Tarkenton celebrating his 86th birthday today. And Bob Greasy, born on this day in 1945, two-time Super Bowl champion, six-time Pro Bowler. Bob Greasy, 81 today. All of that on this day, brought to you by Hive Social. That is HYV Social. Download the app today, iOS and Google Play. All right, Hey, What the Puck is brought to you by Restoration One. They're going to let you help you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Reach out to them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. I love the Brendan Donovan trade. It's a great deal. They didn't have to give up. I mean, when Laz Montez was mentioned, I was no thanks. Losing Durangelo, yeah, it stings because I think you're enamored by the switch pitching, but keep in mind it's something that he was really done with anyways, and he was going to pitch from the right side. But he's an exciting arm to look at. One thing this organization has been able to do is get a lot of arms, Ryan Sloan and others, Kate Anderson coming up. So you can weather that one. And there was a thought, and as Divish points out in today's Inside Pitch, he was going to be destined there for the bullpen. Now, the guy on a personal level that I'm going to miss, and you know me because I have been the president of the Ben Williamson fan club. I love Ben Williamson. And I get what his shortcomings were offensively. And again, I'm not saying they made a mistake by trading him. They didn't, because I think Brendan Donovan helps them this year and next year, and it's a better fit for the team, especially offensively, hitting lead off and all that. I just don't like how people view baseball players nowadays. It's all about hitting. It's all about power. And I think we forget defense, and we especially forget defense on the hot corner. It's my favorite position. I love watching that more than anything. And he was elite. Not good, elite. He was an elite third baseman at that age, and he's only going to get better. And eventually, and hopefully for Ben Williamson, he finds the bat. If he ever finds a little bit more pop, a kid's going to be a stud. I just like the way he plays, and I'm going to miss watching him because I just think it's really, it's not given enough attention to how good he was over there and how good a lot of guys are defensively, because we're just so enamored by offensive stats. But ultimately, very, very good day for the Mariners. Very good trade. It gives them a presence at the top of the order, gives them some flexibility with a guy that can bounce around different positions. And it maybe frees up Cole Young, Colt Emerson, not put too much pressure on those guys heading into the season. That is Hey What the Puck, again, brought to you by Restoration One. Go visit their website. Any damages to your residential commercial property from anything, visit them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Big thanks, everybody, watching and listening to today's show. Thank you to all our sponsors, as always. We start there every time we close the show. Limbeck Lumber, Flat Stick Pub. Go check out Flat Stick Pub this weekend. We told you 99-cent wings all day long at Flat Stick Pub for the Super Bowl. Plus, they've got a few private rooms that are still available to rent if you want to take a party there. It's a great spot to go watch the game with a bunch of other people at Flat Stick Pub. Go to flatstickpub.com for more information. Georgetown Brewery, their normal hours will be open on Sunday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Plus, you can fill up 2 growlers of Manny's for just $12 there on Sunday. And also, big thanks to Restoration One and Hive Social. Hive Social, great place to find out where everyone's going to be at on Sunday, to find out where you can go watch the game with a bunch of other Seahawks fans. You can also find the Daily Punch-Up up on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Subscribe. You may be watching but not subscribing. Leave a comment. Try to get to as many as we can. Also find the Daily Punch-Up on all your favorite podcast platforms. Apple, Spotify, does not matter. And you can find everything at pucksports.com, including signing up to become a Posse member. Again, you support everything that we do here daily for free. Plus, we give you bonus shows every week. Inside Pitch with Ryan Divish is out now. Coming up later this afternoon, you'll get the Sports Pit with Stretch. Thursdays, you'll get KJ Arntz with Mitch. Also on Wednesday, they didn't do one on Monday, but we now produce the Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast. A new episode will come out on Wednesday. Just to remind you, we talked about this yesterday on the show, but coming up Thursday, Friday, different schedule. Thursday, we're going to release the show early. We're going to go live early about 8 o'clock, and then we'll release it all its normal times. Friday, because of personal travel for me, Friday, we're just going to release the show, full show. We're going to release it at 10 a.m. So won't be technically live, but we'll release it at 10 a.m. for everyone to watch and listen. Appreciate always the support. Appreciate the understanding. We will talk to you tomorrow, another Wednesday edition of the show. It will include a visit with Jimmy Moore. Fingers crossed, Joel Damon. And we will also talk there with Rob Staten of SeahawksDraftBlog.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to love. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!